The golden sunlight of sunset stretches across the vast African savanna where life and death are often separated by a thin line. We usually know nature through harsh rules, predator and prey, the survival of the fittest. However, sometimes nature breaks its own regulations to write a chapter that no scientist can explain. Asha was a lioness with a majestic appearance, but hidden deep in her amber eyes was a profound sadness. And on her back was not a lion cub, but a small, dark creature with shaggy fur, a baby gorilla. That child clung tightly to the golden mane of the most fearsome predator on a grassland, as if it were the only life buoy in a stormy ocean. How could a child of the deep green jungle find protection on the back of a queen of the savannah? This is not just a photo of an improbable friendship. It is a testament to a fierce maternal instinct that blurs all boundaries of biology and species. Today, we will go deep into the heart of the wild to witness a bond that challenged all laws of survival, and the story of the woman who had to make the most painful choice to protect both those souls. Our story begins at a volatile transition zone where the dense tropical forests of the Congo Basin gradually thin out to make way for the sun-drenched savanna. This is a natural boundary, but for a small gorilla family, it became the boundary between life and death. On one fateful night, the peace of the old forest was shattered by the sharp gunshots of poachers. In the chaos and fear, the mother gorilla used her last bit of strength to push her small child into the bushes before falling. The baby gorilla, helpless and panicked, ran without stopping. It crossed thorny thickets and dry streams until its tiny legs were exhausted, and it realized it had wandered into a completely strange world. The vast grassland where there were no sheltering canopies, only sweltering heat and the stalking eyes of predators. At the same time, on the other side of the savannah, a lioness named Asha was walking wearily in solitude. Asha was not an ordinary hunter. She was a lost soul of the grassland. Just a few months prior, a power struggle between male lion prides caused Asha to lose everything. Her pride disbanded and her newborn cubs were gone. The maternal instinct in Asha remained intact, but now she had no one to care for. That pain made Asha different. She no longer possessed the usual ferocity, but instead a haunting silence. One afternoon when the heat began to subside, Asha happened to pass by a solitary acacia tree. Under that sparse shade, she discovered a strange object. It was the baby gorilla, now exhausted from hunger and thirst, lying curled up and trembling. Naturally, the sound of a small creature would trigger the hunting instinct of any lion. Asha approached, her muscles tensed, her amber eyes locked on the target. But when she was only a few steps away, a miracle happened. The baby gorilla, instead of fleeing, looked up at Asha with large round eyes filled with tears. In its delirium from exhaustion, it did not see a killer, it saw warmth. The poor child reached out its tiny hands toward Asha, making weak cries like a plea for help. Those cries seemed to touch a hidden chamber in the breaking heart of Asha. Memories of her cubs rushed back, completely overwhelming her predatory instinct. Asha stopped, then slowly lowered her center of gravity. Instead of baring her fangs, she gently used her rough tongue to lick away the road dust on the small gorilla face. The baby gorilla felt the protection, reached forward, and clung tightly to the bright golden fur of Asha. An invisible contract was signed amid the dust of the savannah. From this moment, the child of the jungle had a new mother, the queen of the savannah. The following days on the savannah were a series of events unprecedented in natural history. Asha, a creature designed to kill, now adjusted her entire rhythm of life to protect a weak soul. The image of Asha walking slowly with the baby gorilla clinging tightly to her back became a sight both magnificent and full of anxiety. Asha moved slower, each step cautious, so as not to make the small child lose balance. She no longer chose hiding places based on hunting tactics, but prioritized areas near succulent bushes or acacia trees with wild fruits, things the little gorilla could eat to stay alive. However, biological differences were a cruel barrier. The baby gorilla, belonging to the moist jungle world, was struggling with the scorching heat of the grassland. It could not eat meat, and Asha had no milk to nurse it. The maternal instinct of Asha urged her to find every way to help her child. There were times people saw Asha standing guard for hours so the baby gorilla could safely eat young grass sprouts or pick scarce wild fruits. When the small monkey was thirsty, Asha led it to distant water holes, patiently standing to protect it from the prying eyes of hyenas or fierce crocodiles, waiting until the small child finished drinking the precious drops of water. The drama of this survival lay not only in food, but also in the surrounding enemies. The presence of a gorilla on the back of a lion was an anomaly, and nature is not often kind to those who are different. One afternoon, while Asha was resting, a pack of hungry hyenas discovered this strange prey. They began to encircle them, laughing with eerie sounds, believing a solitary lion with an obstacle on her back would be easily defeated. But they were wrong. The gaze of Asha at that time was not the gaze of a hunter, but of a mother protecting her most precious possession. She roared a sound that vibrated across the savannah, muscles rippling ready for a fight to the death. The baby gorilla understood, burying its head deep into the thick mane of Asha, trusting absolutely in the giant protector. Before the frantic ferocity of Asha, the hyena pack had to retreat in terror. Though Asha protected the baby gorilla from the claws of enemies, she could not protect it from the harsh laws of time. The baby gorilla grew thinner, its smooth black fur starting to become ragged due to lack of nutrition and the necessary humidity of the jungle. It became more lethargic, its cries growing smaller. Asha also seemed to sense the depletion of her child. She lay beside it, licking it constantly as if wanting to pass more strength to the baby. A strange spiritual bond flourished. Asha was ready to fight the world for this child. But no matter how strong she was, she could not replace the tropical forest, the place where the gorilla truly belonged. A race against time was happening silently. And if there was no miracle, this extraordinary maternal love might end in another tragedy. Amid the intense heat of the plains, Kiara, a female ranger with more than 10 years of experience attached to conservation projects in East Africa, was performing a routine patrol in an old jeep. Her job was to monitor the migration of herds.
I can't believe it, look at that.
But today, her binoculars caught an image that made her rub her eyes in disbelief. Through the hazy air caused by heat rising from the ground, Kiara saw Asha. But what made her heart tighten was the small black entity clinging to the back of the lioness. Kiara had heard many legends of the grassland, but a lion raising a gorilla was something never before seen in scientific records. She decided to keep a safe distance, silently following this pair for 3 consecutive days. Through the lens, Kiara did not just see a miracle. She saw a tragedy gradually manifesting. She saw Asha guarding the little gorilla while it slept, saw the gentle eyes of the wild beast looking at the child of a different species. But she also saw the ribs beginning to show under the fur of the gorilla baby. The little gorilla, which she named Coco, was lethargic due to severe nutritional deficiency. Its skin began to dry and crack under the direct sunlight, something that should have been washed by the rains and humidity of the jungle. That night, Kiara could not sleep. She faced a massive ethical problem. The golden rule for rangers is to let nature run its course, not to intervene in the life cycles of wild animals. However, this was not a normal natural development. It was the intersection of 2 tragedies. If Kiara did nothing, Coco would surely die of exhaustion within a few days, and Asha would have to face the pain of losing a child once more, a shock that could make this lioness dangerous or cause her to collapse entirely. The next morning, Kiara called the operations center with a firm but emotional voice. "We must intervene. This is no longer about predation. This is a rescue." A detailed plan was established immediately. The rescue team needed to separate Coco from Asha as quickly as possible to avoid injury to both. Kiara understood that for Asha, this action was no different from a kidnapping. She felt heartbroken thinking about having to strip away the only comfort of that lonely lioness. As the rescue vehicle approached, Asha immediately stood up, roaring a threatening sound, shielding Coco behind her legs. Her eyes burned with the determination to protect. Kiara sat in the car, looking through the rearview mirror, her eyes also blurring. A mild sedative dart was fired. Asha staggered and slowly slumped into a forced sleep. When Coco was lifted off the back of Asha, it screamed heartbreaking sounds, its tiny hands still trying to cling to the golden fur of the lion mother. Kiara held the little monkey, feeling its heart beating fast with fear. She whispered,
It's all right, Coco.
"I am sorry, Asha.
I know you're
I am doing
scared,
this
but
so it can live."
You are safe
The
with
car
me now,
rolled away,
I promise.
leaving Asha lying alone on the grassland, ending an improbable chapter and opening a tearful separation. The first days at the rescue center of the sanctuary were a real psychological challenge for Coco. The small gorilla refused to eat. It only sat huddled in the corner of the cage, its eyes blankly staring into space. The experts understood that the greatest wound for Coco was not physical depletion, but the longing for the warmth of Asha. To help Coco recover, Kiara made a bold decision. She took an artificial skin with a color and scent similar to lion fur and placed it in its sleeping area. The reaction of Coco was surprising. It immediately rushed over, tucked its head into the skin, and began to make soft purring sounds, a behavior it had learned from its lion mother. Meanwhile, in the distant grassland, Asha also went through months of sadness. The rangers reported that she frequently returned to the old acacia tree where she first met Coco and roared for her child in the empty night. The roar of Asha no longer carried the authority of a predator, but it was mournful like a sad melody echoing across the wilderness. However, time is the medicine that heals all wounds. Thanks to strong survival instincts, Asha gradually reintegrated with a new lion pride. She was no longer alone, and although she would never forget her special child, Asha found her position as a true queen of the savannah again. After 6 months of special care, Coco was ready to return to its true home, the tropical jungle. On the day of release, Kiara was personally present. She looked at the gorilla, who was now healthy, with sturdy arms starting to know how to climb and eyes that had regained the brilliance of a primate. When the cage door opened, Coco stood still for a moment. It sniffed the moist air of the old forest, then turned back to look at Kiara one last time. In that moment, Kiara felt a silent thrill. Coco vanished into the green canopy, disappearing behind layers of leaves, officially returning to the world where it belonged. The story of Asha and Coco did not just stop at a rare event of nature. It became a powerful symbol of compassion. It reminds us that even in the harshest wild world, where survival is always prioritized, maternal love can still bloom miraculously. Love has no borders, not limited by skin color or species. It is a universal language of the heart, capable of healing broken souls and changing even the iron laws of nature. The journey of Asha and Coco has closed, but its legacy remains. Coco is now part of a gorilla community, carrying within it the strength and resilience nurtured by a lion. And every time the sun sets on the savannah, people still talk about a queen with a generous heart, who once carried the whole world of a child on her back. Nature can be harsh, but through stories like those of Asha and Coco, we find faith in the miraculous connection between species, a connection that sometimes only love can explain.